Warning. This program is intended for adults only. What you're about to listen to contains explicit language, sexual topics, and don't be surprised if you get wet.
You've just tuned in to PooseBoss with your host, Victoria Lynn. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Victoria Lynn, and you've just tuned into another episode of RandomPoose, except for this random pussy is some fucking amazing pussy tonight in the house. Hello. Please introduce yourself, gorgeous.
Hey, everybody. My name is Maebe A Girl.
Ooh. Okay, maybe. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. So I am a gender fluid identifying drag queen. I identify on the trans spectrum, and I am making changes in my community here in Los Angeles.
Love it. So let's just start slowly. When you say you identify as a drag queen, can you please explain to people what that means?
Sure thing. So so I am in the political atmosphere, and a lot of people want a very clean-cut response as to what your identity is. Are you this? Are you that? Are you black? Are you white? And for me, well, I am white, but my gender identity is a little bit more complicated than just this or that. So, a lot of people are think, oh, you can be straight or you can be gay. And, that's more of a sexuality thing. But when it comes to gender, people think, oh, you can be a man or a woman. And most people make their own judgments based off of what they are looking at when they look at you. Mm-hmm. And for me, I identify as gender fluid. And a lot of people are not familiar with that term. And what that means is, so gender fluid is, it's a concept on the trans spectrum. So to the idea of trans, I don't think is this or that. Mm-hmm. If you think about a spectrum, and on one end you have cisgender, and on the other end you have transgender. It's not just one or the other. There's a lot of people that identify somewhere in between. And for me, kind of realizing that, that's why it kind of took me a while to figure out myself, because I thought I could only be one or the other. Mm-hmm. And when I figured out what gender fluid means, that your gender can be fluid, it was really eye-opening to me, because I identify with both male and female genders, masculine and feminine. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's beautiful, because one of the things that I was going through was, oh, well, I want to be this, but I want to be that. And so many people want you to pick, but you don't have to pick. If you feel like you're both, you're both. If you feel like you're neither, you're neither. Mm-hmm. And, you've probably heard of the term non-binary. Yep. And so technically on my ID for the state of California, my ID says, rather than M or F, it says X, which symbolizes non-binary.
I didn't even realize that was a choice.
The state of California just started doing that at the beginning of this year. So actually January this year I went and I changed my gender marker to X. And for me, X means, technically on the books, it means non-binary. Mm-hmm. And for me, as I mentioned, I'm gender fluid, and non-binary are similar, but non-binary people, they do not identify on the binary, whereas I identify across all elements of the binary. So some days I feel a little bit more like a man, some days I feel a little bit more like a woman. And, I try to live accordingly, and sometimes it doesn't match up with how I present myself. As somebody that was born a male, and as somebody that is 6'2" and has broad shoulders.
Very handsome, by the way.
And very handsome. Sometimes it can be difficult to quickly transform myself into a female presenting person. Yeah. And the thing about gender identity, it's really not about how you are presenting yourself. One of the things that even made me afraid of sort of approaching this world at all is I felt like, well, as somebody that was born male who's 6'2", has a football player build, I was thinking, I don't know if I can even female present. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, it's really not about how you present, it's about how you feel and how you identify. Yes. And what you try to do is you try to make yourself appear the way that you feel, so that others can understand that. But the trouble with that is that, oftentimes when I present as female, people just think, oh, she's a drag queen.
Yeah.
which is also another complicated part of the story because I am a drag queen. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, how can you be that and a drag queen? Well, the thing is, there's a lot of trans women that are drag queens. There was a cast member on RuPaul's Drag Race who described it best. Her name was Monica Beverly Hills. And she said, drag is what I do, trans is who I am. And so that's kind of the difference in that. So when I'm getting into drag, I'm getting into drag for others. But when I'm just presenting the way I want to present, that's for myself.
Yes.
And as a gender fluid person, it can be a little complicated because sometimes the situation calls for one or the other. If I have a drag gig, I can't just show up as my boy self. I have to put it on. Yeah. But then there's equally other moments where, I'm expected to go out in my boy self and I'm feeling my woman that day. So, the thing is,
how do you choose? How do you choose which self to be that day? Because I'm sure there's some days where you're like, well, damn, I'm feeling very feminine. And then you might be like, but at the same time, how do you decide?
That's a good question. It's for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people that identify similarly, and I can't speak for everyone, it's less of a matter of choosing as it is a matter of feeling. So, and I will say that there are days that I'm feeling more feminine, but I don't have it in me to spend an hour and a half doing my transformation. Yeah. So I go out boy presenting even though I'm feeling female. And then equally there are days when I've got a drag gig and I'm just not feeling my girl side, But I can do either way, and I feel very grateful that I can present and go out either way. So I try to make it go along with how I'm feeling, but sometimes sometimes it goes along with what my schedule is telling me to do.
Do you ever feel like maybe because you put something like saying an hour and a half to get ready, you know how long,
and that's a minimum.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, for me, I'm like the basic of basic bitches in a sense, and it takes me 40
Now
minutes.
this is a podcast. You can't see her right now, but she is lying to you. You look fabulous right now.
Thank you. But literally, this took me 30 minutes to put on. I mean, if I really wanted, I know the detail that goes in. And so when you are in a mode where you feel very feminine, but you don't want to put that extra work into it, do you ever feel when you go out that you're almost like, oh, people can't, I wish people just leave me alone because I'm feeling so fabulous inside, and yet everybody's still like, oh, hey, he, blah, 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 blah.
Exactly, 100%. And that's the thing is, to gender or misgender somebody a certain way, it's the most impactful for the person that's on the receiving end of it, but sometimes you can't. I try not to hold it against people when I get misgendered, because I can tell the difference between when somebody is misgendering me intentionally because they have something against queer people versus somebody that is ignorant and just doesn't realize it. And I realize that most of the time when that happens out of ignorance, they're not meaning to do it to be offensive. And I have to take the opportunity to be like, well, actually, I identify like this. I would prefer if you use these pronouns with me. And usually when I have that conversation with somebody, they're very understanding about it. So, which is a good thing. Versus if I'm having a conversation with somebody about it that is intentionally misgendering me, there's usually no getting through to them.
Yeah. Which has to be a very hard spot to be in, because it's especially running in politics, which
exactly,
I can't wait till we're going to touch on that. But maybe she is actually running
for Congress.
Love it. Yes. Okay, when you said that. So just to give you a little background, I actually was at Maebe's bingo event the other night she had with an by the way, what is the other girl that was with you?
Indica Sativa. That's my homegirl. That's Indica.
I reached out to her.
Yes, I just heard.
Yes, I want her.
You told me she didn't respond. I'm a text her later. Be like, girl, get on that.
Yeah, because I was like, yo, I'm the pothead. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about pro marijuana.
Well, you asked her to do a podcast. She wants to do a podcast.
Oh, well, okay. I'll make sure my producer knows. I'm so open for a podcast. We just can't come here, but. But so I was blown away by you. Well, first off, her performance. Okay, can we just take a second to talk about?
We can take a minute.
How you fucking demolished that room. First off, because okay, what's it like even performing at Soho House? Because I feel like it's a very odd vibe.
It is. Performing at the Soho House is interesting only because, they hired me to do a drag bingo event every month, and I love it. It's so much fun. But also at the same time, like, I ain't that rich, I ain't that fancy.
Right.
I'm like, how am I I was like, I gotta go and like rub elbows with these people who have memberships.
That you're not allowed to talk to or take pictures with?
Exactly.
Oh
No
my
pictures
God.
allowed. Even I've been yelled at for taking pictures. I'm like, girl, I'm a drag queen. But it's been really cool. I just started doing that a few months ago, and it's fabulous. And I will say my initial hesitations for interacting with people have been... I've come over it. Like, everyone that I've interacted with there has been so amazing and so cool. And you know what? If they're not probably not hanging out by the drag bingo area.
That's true. Honestly, I was watching you. So she came out so let me give you a little dance off of how it went. So she comes out on the balcony and we just see her running, right? And what song were you singing?
Don't bring around the clouds to rain on my parade.
Oh, it was so beautiful. And I was loving it because you were finding people, but when you would go up to the men, what I loved is that they loved it.
Exactly.
They fucking
love
it. Like, they feel a little bit not sure how, but you can see that they're understanding the performance, which is what I did like about Soho House. I feel like as creatives, we understand the performance behind everything, and we really respect the performance. But you were fucking amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I got a lot of compliments after that performance.
Yes.
And I felt really comfortable with it. And I think it's because I've been there a few times now that I feel more comfortable with
Yes.
the crowd. The first time I did it, it was still fabulous, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like I didn't really know who I was performing for.
Yeah.
And I've always been a little, I don't want to say hesitant, a little nervous, a little apprehensive about performing at venues that are known as straight venues, if you will, because you never really know the kind of people you're going to encounter.
Yeah.
When I perform at a gay bar, I know that they're going to love it because, if you're at a gay bar and you see a drag show, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Whereas some people don't know what they're walking into and you don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
And I will say that I have been overwhelmed with support from the Soho House. So I really, really appreciate it. And I wasn't expecting it, because it's, a cis environment, a straight environment, but also because, they're fancy there.
I know, they're so fancy.
They're so fancy.
They literally were like, you're not allowed to take, because they said you're not allowed to talk to people either, and that night I had actually had 2 nails broken. So my food came out, they forgot my food, and I said to my friends, see, they saw my nails were broken. They're like, she's not a member. She's not a member. We don't care about her.
Yep.
But I ended up actually taking someone home from there.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
I know I did. I went bad and went and
Yes.
fraternized.
Wow, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, it was good. Whatever. He still hit me up, so I guess it was good.
There we go. Yes.
But yeah, it was just so much awesome. I loved your presence. But then I was really, really excited when I heard you're running for Congress. Like, okay, so let's start with how you got where you are now, because you are currently...
So I'm currently on the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council here in Los Angeles. So if you're not familiar with how LA government works, there are essentially 3 levels of government. At the top, we've got the mayor. We've got 1 mayor. Then we have 15 city council districts.
Okay.
And then we have 99 neighborhood council districts.
Okay.
And the thing about the neighborhood council districts is, in some ways, it's the most important representation of government because it's the most grassroots and it's the most representation of the voice of the people that live in Los Angeles. And so what we do on the neighborhood councils is I'll also say this. The unfortunate thing about being on the neighborhood councils is it's not a legislative body. We act as advisory boards to city council.
Okay.
So each city council district has multiple neighborhood council districts within their district. And what we do as neighborhood council districts is we discuss upcoming legislation that city councils can be going through.
Okay.
We address different concerns throughout the neighborhood, and it's everything that your neighborhood could be concerned with. It's everything from transportation and safety to homelessness to green issues to queer issues. Pretty much any issue you can think of that is local to your neighborhood, we probably discuss in our neighborhood councils, or we have some sort of committee related to it. And again, we bring these issues up at our council meetings, we vote on them as a body, and then if we, whatever the results are, we pass those on to city council.
And then they go from there and they decide.
Exactly. And, they don't have to listen to us, but they really should.
Are you elected into this?
Yes,
okay.
I was elected for this position.
Okay.
I just got elected in April.
Mm-hmm.
And the really cool thing is, and I didn't even know this while I was running, I didn't realize this, or find this out rather, until after I won, was that I actually happened to be the first drag queen elected to public office in the entire United States of America.
OMG. Congratulations. Wait, can we take
Thank
a
you.
second?
Oh my, is this a moment of silence?
This is a moment of silence. I'm sitting with history right now.
Thank
this
you.
This is history.
Should we take it right now?
Yeah, should we take it right now?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I was like, how long are we going to go for?
That was really just a moment.
I know, right?
No, but that was the gag. I had no idea that was the case
Yeah.
until after it happened. And, it actually inspired me even more because I felt like it was pathetic that I'm the first person, the first drag queen elected to public office. Because drag, and again, there's a huge difference between drag and trans. Drag in most instances is a presentation, a performance, and, a form of entertainment,
yes.
Whereas trans is a part of your inherent identity. And so, there are fortunately a few trans people in our country that have some sort of political position. But again, it's also unfortunate that there's only a few.
Yeah.
So after being in my position for a little bit, I've been enjoying it so much. In fact, we've been touching on issues that I'm so excited to, put my opinion in and, make a difference. But, I'll say this, one of the things about being a representative that I was, that you really don't consider until you're in the thick of it is that as a representative, you are elected to be a representative of the people that elected you. Mm-hmm. So anybody and everybody is going to go in with their initial set of values and ideas and things that they want to accomplish, things that they want to put out there. But the gag is that when it comes down to you're just supposed to be a representative, a voice of the people.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're electing you because they agree with your values and they agree with your ethics and your points of views politically. But if you have enough people in your constituency coming up to you and saying, do not vote this way, do not vote this way, do not vote this way, and you vote that way, it's wrong. It's, you're violating why they elected you. Now, of course, I would never vote on something if I was fundamentally against it in terms of my values and my ethics. But usually that's not the case. A lot of the things that we vote on are not fundamentally right or wrong answers. Usually the situation is that it affects many people, and it affects some people in one way, it affects other people in a different way, and you want to pick the outcome that benefits the most people and, negatively affects the least number of people.
So I want to say something here because I can already hear somebody who's going to go against everything you're saying. And they would say, well, how do I know you're not picking what's beneficial for you, right? Because a lot of people, they're gonna first off not identify with a drag queen, and then they're gonna say, wait, trans, but not the trans that they see on TV. So then they're even more confused, and then they're saying, how do I not know you're just picking for you? So how do you deal with people who are? Because I'm sure you've dealt with many people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what I have to say about that is, when it comes to my local council position and when it comes to me running for Congress, which I'll get into that a little bit more in a moment, I'm a progressive across the board. I vote progressively, and as a politician, my policies are progressive across the board. So I would really not vote for something that was, anti-progressive. There's some things where, I might budge a little bit, but it's truly only if enough of my constituents are saying, hey, we're all here in this room and we want you to vote this way, and if you don't, you're not a good representative.
Yeah.
But in general, my values and my policies are progressive across the board. So what I say to that is, if you are a progressive, vote for me. If you're not a progressive and you don't believe in progressive values, then don't vote for me. I was fortunate enough when I ran for the local council that I met a really cool group of people. So to kind of give you a background of the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, so there's 21 members of the council.
Okay.
And this past election was a big election. It was really heated because we had a lot of new people in the race.
Okay.
And I met up with 10 other people that were running for the council position, and we all shared a similar progressive set of values. And we decided, why don't we run together as a slate to increase the likelihood of getting as many progressive people on the board as possible.
Yeah.
And the best case scenario happened. All 11 of us got elected to the council.
Wow.
And you know what? We did it together as a group, as a team, and as people that share progressive values.
Yeah.
We went out door to door. We went out and talked to people and found out what's important to our voters and let them know what's important to us. And the voters turned out and they voted for us. And so, you know, with 11 of us joining a council of 21, we effectively have a progressive majority, which is really cool. And it really enables us to have to make a difference in the community. Because sometimes when you have, you know, one or two progressive people on a team of 21, you know, because it's about voting, you know, if you don't have enough people voting that way, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, it's going to go one way or the other. So it's been really cool so far, and we've been able to do a lot of great things so far for the neighborhood. We've been able to.
What? I'd love to.
Well, for instance, so for me personally, one of the things that I did since joining the council is I wanted to form an LGBTQIA committee.
Okay.
So the way that we get our work done in the local council is actually very similar to the way that they get work done in Congress. It's through a series of committees. Okay. So you have your regularly scheduled meetings, but those meetings are usually going over what was discussed and talked about in committee meetings.
Okay.
So we've got a green committee, a homelessness committee, transportation and safety committee. We've got a housing and urban preservation committee. And one of the things that I noticed immediately was that there was not an LGBTQIA committee. And Silver Lake, for those of you that are not familiar, is a very queer-centric community. Or at least it has been historically. You know,
has it been historically?
It has been.
I've only lived here like 4 years, but when I moved here, Silver Lake was one of the places I loved because of how open, and I mean, there's just so many.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what when you think of the queer community in Los Angeles, what neighborhood do you think of?
I would probably think Echo Park, Silver Lake.
Oh, interesting.
You
wouldn't think West Hollywood?
No.
That's so interesting.
Because the only people I know who actually live in West Hollywood are not usually gay. That's where they go to party. But
that's
all
where they
the
go to
people
party.
I know who are
and that's
queer,
what I'm saying.
gay,
People think WeHo when they think gay LA.
Yeah.
You know.
But I don't even. You know what's weird too? In WeHo, I feel like But there's more asshole gays than like Silver Lake and Echo Park have very like. You know, and good, dressing. Like, there's just a different vibe than WeHo. WeHo to me is like some people who are like, I might be gay.
You know, I love WeHo, and WeHo's interesting because, like, if you go up to Sunset Boulevard, it's mostly a straight crowd. You go down to Santa Monica Boulevard, and it's mostly a gay crowd. Yep. And when I say gay, I really mean gay. You know, it's mostly males. Yes. You don't see a lot of lesbians there. You don't see a ton of trans people there. You see some for sure, but it's overwhelmingly gay people, which is not a bad thing. But for me, one of the things that I wanted to do was really help to make Silver Lake queer again. So Silver Lake was actually the gay neighborhood before West Hollywood became the gay neighborhood. Silver Lake has been very queer since the 60s, actually.
Okay, I did not know that.
In fact, Silver Lake, there is a bar called the Black Cat. You know the Black Cat?
I know the Black Cat. I've been there, yeah.
So the Black Cat, they're under, it's a different management, but originally the Black Cat was a queer bar, and it was kind of an undercover queer bar. Okay. And it was the site of the first major LGBT demonstration in the United States. Most people think of Stonewall when they think of that. Stonewall was in 1969 in New York. The Black Cat riots were in 1967. So it preceded Stonewall by about 2 years, but it just didn't have that spark yet. And Stonewall was really the spark that sort of encouraged the gay liberation movement. So that's why, I think a lot of people forget about what happened at the Black Cat, especially because the media tried to cover it up. They didn't really want to. They didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to give them the spotlight,
Yeah.
But back in the day, in the 60s, Silver Lake was the site of multiple gay bars. In fact, I believe more than there are even today. And the thing was, at the Black Cat riots, what happened was it was New Year's Eve, and at midnight, there was a bunch of undercover cops in the bar, just dressed as regular people. And at midnight, when queer people started kissing each other, all of a sudden they shut down the bar and started arresting everybody.
Wow.
And that sparked a series of demonstrations in the coming weeks. And so it wasn't just a singular event, it was a series of ongoing
Events
demonstrations
that
And so it occurred not only at the Black Cat, but after that happened, many of the other gay bars in the neighborhood also had similar protests. And it was really critical to helping put the gay liberation movement on the map, and it was critical in enabling what happened at Stonewall to happen. So, I'm so grateful for Stonewall, but also, I guess what I want people to realize is that there's other little fragments of history that sort of helped to lead to that.
Definitely, because you think about it, you think about the people who weren't Stonewall, right? Who didn't, in a sense, get gratification. Because right, when we talk about things that are in history, if you were part of it, you get, in a sense, some sort of gratification. I was there. But the people who really put their neck out, right, in the beginning that we don't talk about, those are really the people who had the most balls of them all.
Exactly.
Right? Because they were like, I'm going to lead this movement. I'm going to do what I want to do and be who I want to be.
Exactly. And that was, it was so much more magnanimous and so much more noble of an endeavor, because it was illegal to be gay back then. You could be
so crazy
arrested,
to me.
Fined. I know, it's so crazy for me too.
And what's funny is because, so I'm 31. I had to think about that. I'm 31. And when I was younger, I never ever thought this is wrong and it's illegal. And then now, once it started becoming legal, I was like, wait a second, it really kind of mind fucked me, because I'm like, well, why are we telling people they shouldn't be with who they want to be with?
Exactly.
I get it, you don't, okay, whatever, no church, whatever, but church and state are supposed to be separate anyways, which it is not. Actually, I have something I really want to talk to you about.
Yeah, of course.
So I watched this really cool documentary recently, and it was about Satanism. And I was blown away, because I watched it with all thought, thinking they were going to be people who worship Satan or Lucifer and this and that. And the real cause that they had behind it was that Satanism, they're trying to say that Christianity is taking over in so many ways, and that if they're going to allow Christianity to be a part of the government or a part of our government statutes or whatever else, then we should be able to do whatever we want. And it's really not that they pray to Satan.
Yes, exactly. No, and I'm not super familiar with that, but I do follow a couple of people online that identify in that realm. And at first I was also a little taken aback, oh, you worship the devil?
Yeah.
Which it sounds bad.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I'm very much for religious liberty. In fact, I grew up. I come from a mixed Jewish and Catholic background, but I went to Catholic grade school and I went to Catholic high school, I didn't corrupt them, it corrupted me.
Yeah.
And but even despite that, I believe that every person in this country should be able to express their religion, should be able to worship in the way that they want to. Where I draw the line is where it impedes on other people's civil liberties. And that's where I draw the line. And that's where I draw the line with, the fact that, businesses can deny gay people, business. They won't bake them a cake. And that's where I agree
So that's
with you.
completely legal, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
In all of the U.S., or do you know?
You know, I don't think it's in all of the U.S.,
Okay.
but there are
Certain countries.
There's dozens.
I mean,
state.
Yeah, states.
there's dozens of laws in this nation that discriminate against queer people. In more than half the states, still, it is legal to fire somebody because of their sexual identity or gender preference.
Really?
In fact, my cousin who lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Uh-huh.
she got fired because they discovered she was a lesbian. And it was perfectly within their legal system.
That's ridiculous. See, that to me is just absurd.
Let's put it on the flip side. Could you imagine the uproar if somebody was fired for being Christian?
I know. Oh, my Lord.
Exactly. I think there's a way that we can balance these things and respect these, our mutual agreements and disagreements.
Yeah.
But when you start infringing on people's civil rights, that's when I draw the line.
Yeah.
I happen to be, in some ways, my political points of view are libertarian in the sense that I believe in the maximum amount of civil liberties until it gets to the point that it impedes or infringes on other people's civil liberties. I think you should you should be able to do whatever you want, go out looking however you want, do whatever you want, practice whatever you want, praise whoever you want, so long as it isn't hurting other people. And you see a lot of these religious institutions that are trying to get involved in politics and pass these laws that hurt certain people, such as the LGBTQIA community.
Yes.
You know, trans people can't serve in the military. You know, that's such a disgrace that, especially with how much our nation puts on the military and how much we respect our military and how much money we pour into our military, and to say, oh, no, you can't be a part of it.
Yep. Well, it's just like when they had the whole issue about gay men being part of the military, and it would be like, oh, well,
please don't ask, don't tell me. Just kidding. But no, even that's like, messed up.
Why do we put it on the men who are straight to control them? Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just be a fucking adult.
But then take a look at our government, and when I say our government, I mean the people that are in Congress and our president.
Yes.
And who do they primarily tend to be? They primarily tend to be straight, cis, older, white, wealthy males.
Who are all not really straight. I don't know about that, but
I've read the papers.
I mean, I'm just saying, like I'm past that point of thinking that men give a fuck. But it's a whole. It feels good. I get it. But yeah, no, it's so I love everything you're hitting. So let's talk about Congress.
Yes.
Let's talk about why you're running for Congress.
So I will say this first and foremost. I was almost a little bit nervous about announcing my bid because I was nervous, especially because I had only recently won my local council position. And I didn't want people to think, oh, she just wanted us to vote for her for this so she could use it as a stepping stone for that.
Yeah.
For me, I really became inspired through my campaign and through running for my local position because I had so many young queer people reach out to me saying, you're an inspiration. Thank you for what you're doing. Some people saying, oh, I want to do drag, but I also want to get into politics. I didn't realize I could do both until I saw what you're doing.
Yeah. No, by the way, like, I just want to put it out there. Fucking right. Like, congratulations.
Thank you.
For having the balls to be who you are, to show people
I tucked them, by the way.
I don't even, I'm like, well, can I see them? No, I'm just kidding. But like, it's so hard to be who you are in the society, especially with social media. And really, people do need to see. We need to see people like you.
You know, because
we need to be real.
We're so easily distracted in this day and age. Social media is such an amazing tool because it allows us to spread information on a huge scale. And I love when we're spreading information that's important, but we also spread a lot of information that is not important and that distracts us. And I think it's very easy for people to ignore politics because they're distracted by all of these other things they can be distracted by. But when it comes down to it, politics dictates how we get to live our lives.
Yeah.
And, excuse me. So one of the reasons that I did decide to run for Congress was because after I'd been working in the local council for a little bit, I was discouraged by the fact that discouraged by the scope of what I could do, and the fact that the board that I'm on is it's an advisory board. So I'm not making any legislation. I'm not making any policies. I'm not writing any bills. And that's really what inspired me to, I was like, I don't want to just help the people in my neighborhood. I want to help people across my state, across my nation. Yes. And the way that we can truly do that is by getting more queer people in office. Yeah. Did you know that out of the 435 members of the House of Representatives, there's I believe 10 that identify as queer. And out of the entire history of Congress, there has never been a trans identifying individual. And so part of why I'm doing this is for representation, because representation matters. How can I, as a trans person, count on somebody that has no idea what it's like to be a trans person vote in my favor or in the favor of my community members?
Yes, I completely agree with you. And I completely think, like, so I was actually, one of the episodes I did recently was anal play. And in anal play, you're all good.
I'm good. Sorry.
Is that whiskey in there or water? I'm not sure.
It's water.
Oh, boo. So one of the things I found out about was eunuchs. You know about eunuchs?
No. Oh.
So there were men that they would basically, cut off their balls and shit. Mm-hmm. And then they would make them dress up as women and please them. In a sense, right? And it's like how, as a society, we sit here and we bash on everybody that's different, but we're like, look at history.
Exactly. It's look like, history. You made people do that, and now you won't even let them when they want to. It's just really messed up.
And it's like, why back then are we okay with? Well, we weren't really, because even I was reading some of the things, and they were saying, like, so there were the eunuchs that were perceived to be male. They would have to they would be shampooers. And they would shampoo the men. And then basically, if the man got hard, they would like go towards it. And then as soon as they would touch it or whatever, the man would slap them like they were wrong for it. And so it was like, but then they would end up still sucking because they would end up, it was like a plaything.
This sounds
and
like.
And it sounds like real
sounds
life,
like a lot
right?
of the things that oppressed members of society have had to go through to please the upper members of our society. Yep. And I'm here to say enough is enough. Yes. We are done being in the closet at this point.
Yes.
We are past, so I feel like we've gone through the stage of we're illegal. It's illegal to do what we want to do. And then we get into this phase of, okay, we'll tolerate what you do. Yeah. Baby, I'm here to celebrate what we do.
Thank you. I love that. Celebrate. Celebrate you. Celebrate life. You know, it's so funny because so many people are so fucking unhappy with life. And I'm like, just be you and watch how the rest of the world just follows. Mm-hmm. And if they don't like you, then fuck you.
Exactly.
You know? That's what I love about drag queens. I mean, when I...
Truly, no fucks given.
No fucks given. Walks into a room like, I got this shit owned. I mean, can definitely walk in heels better than me. I always am like, why? Like, this bitch is coming in with fire. But I love the confidence. Like, I think, and that's what I love about the whole drag community, is like, I think people don't look at it as art, but it's art. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's performance art, but it's also... It's such a reflection of societal issues. And, you know, drag is inherently political. Just a lot of people have pegged me as a political queen. And I welcome that title because I am into politics and I am trying to make a change in politics. But everybody that does drag the act in and of itself is inherently political because it's making a political and social statement on what gender is and how our society responds to gender. And that's why people make a fuss over drag queens because it's still unaccepted. Yeah. I truly feel that if people accepted trans women the way that they accept cis white men, that drag queens would not be as much of a big deal.
So, by the way, just so to clarify for our listeners, cis white men would be...
So somebody that is cis is a short for cisgender, meaning that you identify with the gender that was assigned to you at birth. Okay. So you identify as male, you were born with male genitalia, male is your marker on your birth certificates. Whereas transgender implies that you go across that and you you identify with the gender that was not assigned to you at birth.
Okay.
And that feeds into what I was saying earlier about being gender fluid is, I feel as if I'm somewhere in the middle, but sometimes it's a little more this way, it's a little bit more that way. And you know what? I don't have to choose, and neither does anybody else, because who does it affect except for myself?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. I'm not here to make other people feel comfortable. I'm here to, to stand up for the people that are oppressed.
Yes. So, when elected in Congress,
thank you.
What will you be doing?
I plan on doing a number of things. A lot of people think that my issues are exclusively queer-oriented. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have a huge, I want to work for queer people, but there's so many other things that I believe in and that I want to see change in when it comes, to a political national level. Mm-hmm. For instance, I am all about Medicare for all. I've believed in universal health care for, more than the past decade. I think it's pathetic how our country takes care of its people in terms of health care. I think it's pathetic that you have to cross the border to Canada to get the health care that you need if you can't afford it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be surprised when Canada builds a wall between themselves and the United States of America.
They're already starting to.
You
used to be able to just go up with no passport.
Exactly.
And they're already... So, just because, I don't know if I hope to get you back on the podcast, but... So for people who are, what I would say those right-wingers, where they'll be like, well, healthcare, like, it's not good when we get all healthcare. Look at Europe, where the doctors aren't making as much, and you have to wait 2 months for a doctor, and blah, blah, blah. What would your response be to them? My response to that is that healthcare is a human right. Healthcare should not be a privilege for the wealthy, because... It would be a different story if America was taking care of its impoverished, but they're not even doing that. We're doing nothing about homelessness on a local or national level. I shouldn't say we're not doing anything on a local level. Not doing enough.
We're not doing enough on a local or a national level. Mm-hmm. And, I just think that our government needs to start taking care of its people better. And I hate that people, anytime that you suggest something like that, people automatically say you're a socialist.
Yep.
And... if you look at all of the other industrialized nations in the world, most of them have free health care. And a lot of people are like, well, what about all the people that work in, the healthcare industry? Of course, I care about them, and I don't want them to lose their jobs. And I don't think they will lose their jobs. I think a lot of people are misinformed about what Medicare for all means.
Yeah.
I do believe that we should eliminate the insurance system. I don't think we should have private insurance. Mm-hmm. I think that private insurance is killing people and making millionaires, and they're not giving a shit that they're doing it.
100% agree.
And a lot of people are saying, well, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to pay for this?
Yeah.
And the gag is that as an individual, you're probably going to be paying less supporting Medicare for all than paying your private insurance company on a monthly basis, and then paying to see your doctor, then paying money for your prescriptions. So the way that Medicare for all works is that there will be a tax for it. Mm-hmm. You might be taxed through your employer, or it might be a sales tax, but you're no longer paying, $200 to $1,000 a month, to your insurer. Mm-hmm. And then more money to pay for your deductibles and your insurance and your co-pays. It's going to be the same for everybody. Everybody should have the same access to good quality health care. Mm-hmm. Because if we're not providing that to our people as a nation, what good are we? We provide so much protection for our citizens in the form of military, but we provide so few protections in the form of social services, where that actually helps people on an individual level.
Yeah.
When it comes to healthcare, when it comes to mental health care,
fitness,
when it comes to employment.
Yeah.
So...
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we get closer, I think we should do another interview if you're open.
I would love that.
Where we can talk more about policies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more about things you're doing. So how exactly can everybody sponsor or support you?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So we are running, we're running a fully grassroots campaign, which means, it's coming from the community. It's coming from the ground up. It's coming from the people. I'm not a career politician. I'm not in this for the money. I'm not in this for the fame, for everything that comes along with being a politician. I'm here for the people. And so I need the people to stand behind me. And the ways that you can help is just learn more about our campaign. You can go to maebeagirlforcongress.org. That's MAEBE. AGIRL.
I love Maebe
For
A
Congress.
Girl. That's so,
Thank
so
you.
great.
Thank you. We are looking for volunteers. We're looking for donations. It takes a lot of coins to run for Congress.
Yes, it does.
And, that's one of the other things I want to do is I want to take big money out of, excuse me, I want to take big money out of politics. I think that it's awful that so many politicians that we have that are in our government, that are in Congress, that take money from certain industries, and then we act surprised that they vote in favor of those particular industries. So a lot of people ask me, and I'll say, I'm running for Congress, and what's one of the things that's really almost controversial about it is the fact that I'm running up against an incumbent Democrat. I'm running up against Adam Schiff.
Oh.
And Adam Schiff is a very well-known celebrity politician. He's been in the media a lot because he was in the spotlight of the Mueller report. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have asked me, why are you running up against Adam Schiff? Well, I'm running up against Adam Schiff for many different reasons. First of all, I think that it's democratic in and of itself to have multiple choices. I think to have only two people on the ballot and have, one Republican, one Democrat, of course you're going to vote along your party lines. Yes. But that doesn't mean you actually, really support everything that candidate is presenting. Yeah. But you're picking the lesser of two evils. Everyone has heard that expression.
Yes.
So I think it's a healthy part of democracy to have multiple people on the ballot, and whoever the people pick, the people pick. I'm also running up against him because a lot of people think that he is a progressive, and I'll tell you why. Adam Schiff, you go to his website, one of the main things on there is LGBT issues.
Okay.
And of course, I appreciate that he supports LGBT issues. We need that in our government. But I also believe that somebody that's actually a part of that group and understands the ways that we are oppressed on an everyday basis is better able to stand up for people like myself and like so many other members of my community. Yeah. And I also think that when you are a part of an oppressed minority, you also have an understanding of what it's like for other people in different oppressed minorities, people that are, not white, people that are poor, people that are not the people that you see in Congress. Yeah. So, but aside from that, I also, I'm running against him because, like I said, people think he's a progressive, but he's actually a centrist. If you take a look at his voting record,
centrist. I've never heard that word before. Can you please?
Well, again, it kind of goes back to that idea of the spectrum. So if you think of Democrat and Republican as a spectrum with, Democrat and
left, right.
It's left, right, but there's also a lot of people that are in the middle. So centrist is somebody that maybe votes a little more Democrat, but they still kind of are in the middle. Okay. So there are some people in the middle. So if you are, if you're a centrist, it, in some ways it might be good in some ways, but it probably is not good in other ways. I'm fully progressive. I vote and my policies are progressive across the board. So if you are similar, I just want people to know that I'm the most progressive option on the ballot. So if you vote progressive, you have that option. If you're a centrist voter, then don't vote for me, and that's how our democracy works, So, another thing is, I'm running a campaign that is rejecting donations from a lot of big money organizations, such as banks, such as fossil fuel companies, such as our defense industry. If you take a look at my opponent, Adam Schiff, you look at who his donors are, it shouldn't be a surprise that he votes the way that he does. So he consistently accepts donations from the American industrial military complex. So he accepts donations from weapons makers, from defense contractors. And then is it any surprise that he voted for the Iraq war, that he voted to keep troops in Afghanistan, that he voted for the Saudi invasion of Yemen, that he consistently votes to increase defense spending, which is not good for humanity.
Yeah.
So, people vote where the money comes from.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking for personal donations from everyday people that believe in progressive values, because those are the people I'm voting for. I'm not voting for weapons makers.
I think we should do like a double party where we do a donation party for you with PooseBoss.
I would love that.
Would you
I would
that?
love that.
I would love that.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And I think we should do a YouTube video, maybe some more on your policies, and you can walk me through
Thank
more
you.
of it. I would
Because
love
there is a lot to say. It's hard to get it all in this.
No, definitely. We can't get it all, and we're already at 50 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like we've
That
got
went fast.
I know. But I am so glad you came on the show
Thank
today.
you.
Thank
I'm
you
so happy
much.
to have been here. I really appreciate it. This was a ball.
Yes.
2, actually. Tucked.
Well, at least you got 2 and not 1.
Yes.
But we will definitely have you on again when we come closer to the election, because I even would love to talk to you just about what's going on with the presidential election and how you feel.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that, too.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to bring you back, maybe. Thank you so much. You are gorgeous.
Thank you.
She's beautiful.
And if I could just say one more thing to the voters, vote yes on Maebe at the March 3rd primary.
Woo!
By the way, one of the things that everyone asks is, can I vote for you? Can I not? So I'm running for Congress in District 28.
Okay.
So if you live in West Hollywood, Los Feliz, Silver Lake, Echo Park, the Hollywood Hills, Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena, all the way north to the Angeles National Forest, you can vote yes on Maebe at the primary election.
Better yet, if you live in that area, just vote yes on Maebe.
Vote yes on Maebe.
Vote yes on Maebe. That's where our party's going to be. We're gonna hook this up.
Yes.
I got you. We're going to get you some campaign money, girl. Don't
Thank
worry.
you.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this Random Pussy episode. As you know, I normally don't hop into politics, but I mean, when I got someone of this prestige, And again, let me just tell them where they can find you on Instagram, social media.
Yeah, so my Instagram, it's at Maebe A Girl. That's MaebeAGirl. You can find me on Twitter, Maebe.a.girl. No, I'm sorry, Maebe_A_girl. And then you can also find me on Facebook, Maebe A Girl. Or just go to our website, maebeagirlforcongress.org. You can sign up to get campaign updates. You can sign up to volunteer, or you can make a donation. We really need it to, beat the establishment.
And if Maebe hasn't taught us anything today, she's definitely taught us that it's time to vote. It's time to speak your voice. The time is now. We all know it. Get out there. Yo, if you need an Uber, hit me up. I'll hit up Uber. Like, we'll start fucking pushing this shit.
If you need to register to vote, message me. I will help you register to vote.
There you go.
It's the very least that anybody can do to support, their democracy. One of the things that bothers me the most is when people complain about our state of affairs, and then I find out they're not even registered to vote. So hit me up. I will help you with that. I'll help your friends, and let's make a change.
Yes, beautiful. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that Random Pussy. This is your girl, Victoria Lynn, and remember to keep patting that puss.
And vote yes on Maebe.
And vote yes on Maebe.